So welcome again, everyone. Today we are going to talk about the Ahetuka cittas, which are the rootless consciousness. And before we start, let's pay respect. We'll recite Namo Tassa for 3 times together. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Homage to the sublime, the victorious, the totally self-enlightened one. Last few weeks, we have finished the Akusala cittas under the unwholesome consciousness under the Kamavachara cittas with characteristics of the sensual plane. And today we are going to go to another group, which is the rootless consciousness, the Ahetuka cittas. So before we get into the Ahetuka cittas, I'd like to remind everyone of the 4 classes of cittas according to its nature. So we have Akusala citta, the unwholesome cittas, and we have Kusala cittas, the wholesome cittas. Those are the ones that when we do actions, remember the 3 kinds of actions, when we do verbal actions, physical actions, and mental actions, when we do any kind of actions, there are always an intention while we do the actions, yes? So with that intention, those intentions create karma. And these ones are the ones which will later give result. So akusala and kusala generate karma. And then we have another group of cittas, which is called the vipaka citta. Now, vipaka citta are actually the result of the akusala citta and kusala cittas, or precisely, to be more precise, the intention, the chetana of inside that akusala citta or inside that kusala citta. So these vipakas are the result of this previous karma. So you see, we have different graphics here. Later on, we will understand why there are so many different kinds. As we can, roughly, we can understand an akusala, unwholesome one gives non-desirable fruits, and the wholesome ones gives desirable fruits, no? Okay, then we have another category of cittas, which is called the kriya, the functional cittas. Now, functional cittas, as you can guess from the name, it's only functional. It only does a function. So they neither generate karma, nor are they the fruits of karma itself. So they are only functional. Today, we'll also see a few of these functional cittas, so we will understand a little bit more what they are. Okay, so if you remember, we have also gone through a brief introduction about the mental processes in the last few weeks. Now, taking the I-door mental process as an example, we have previously explained that there are some bhavanga cittas, the life continuum cittas that will go on, and then we have the mind here, the 5 sense door averting consciousness, then the I door consciousness, then the receiving, the investigating, determining, then the jhavanas where we react and generate karma, right? Then we have the aftertaste, tadaramana, and then bhavanga again arise. So this is the mental process in brief, in general way, yes? So if we see which type of cittas arise where, now we will see that bhavangas are actually resultant consciousness. They are result of previous karma, previous kusala or akusala. And the next one, panchadora avajana, the 5-door averting consciousness, it's a functional here. And then the next 3 of them, the 5 sense consciousness, here we're using the I-door process, so I consciousness. Then we can also imagine the ear, nose, tongue, and touch also in this position. Then we have the receiving and the investigating. They are also actually resultant consciousness, result of previous karma. Then we have the next one, votabana, the determining consciousness is another functional consciousness. Then we have this 7 jhavana, which are the ones that we already mentioned, kusala or akusala for non-enlightened being. Then we have also these last ones, they are also resultant consciousness. Now here, in the jhavanas, this place is where the kusala and akusala come in. So the last group that we have seen, the akusala cittas, the ones, they only happened in these jhavanas. They can only happen in this area inside a mental process. And today, before going to look at the beautiful ones and the kusala ones, today we are going to look at the rootless ones. And which ones are rootless? Now we can see here, these ones, from the 5 sense door averting consciousness until here, all these are actually rootless. And also sometimes this taramana can also be rootless, but we will go to that later on. Okay, so now first we are going to look at, since we have looked at already akusala cittas, so first we are going to look at the result of the akusala cittas first. So akusala citta, unwholesome consciousness. Remember, we have 8 types of lobha mula citta, the greed-rooted consciousness. Then we have the dosa mula citta, the hatred-rooted consciousness or aversion-rooted consciousness. Then we have another 2 of delusion-rooted consciousness. So these ones, they create karma. So therefore, there will be result. And what are the result of these akusala cittas? The results here are Ahetuka akusala vipaka cittas. So Ahetuka, means negation, hetu, roots, so rootless, akusala, unwholesome, vipaka, resultant, citta, consciousness. Okay, so Ahetuka akusala vipaka citta. But actually, this one is just to make things clear, because usually you will only find akusala vipaka cittas. Usually this Ahetuka is not mentioned because all kinds of akusala result are always rootless. So most of the time it's not even mentioned, but we will go into that in details later. So don't worry about it now. Okay, so we see that unwholesome actions, unwholesome consciousness give disagreeable or undesirable results, yes? And what exactly are they? And why are they rootless? Okay, so let's take a look. Now, these unwholesome roots, lobha, dosa, and moha, greed, hatred or aversion, and delusion, they are very strong, right? They have a strong hold. And in the words of Seadoji Utitila, he says that they dominate the activity of beings to an alarming degree. So actually, they are very strong, right? But despite of this, from the point of view of Abhidhamma, these unwholesome states are actually considered as being weak because it needs very little striving for their arising. They occur very easily and effortlessly. The lack of effort and exertion of their arising, therefore, they are considered to be weak but harmful. Okay, so in the sense that we don't need to take a lot of effort for these unwholesome cittas to arise, therefore they are weak in this sense. They are harmful in the sense that they give undesirable result later on. So as we see, if the roots themselves, they are bad, then the plant cannot be healthy, right? So when the plant grows, it can only give what? Like bad quality leaves and bad quality fruits. So if the fruits are not good, then they do not have chance to develop into a new healthy plant, which will later on produce more plants with healthy roots, right? So therefore, the akusala cittas, they only produce fruitless result. Now, for a healthy tree with healthy roots, good fruits, then later on it is possible for these seeds to be planted again and have good roots, no? To generate further new plants with healthy roots, no? So this is the case for kusala. But for akusala, they only generate the 12 akusala cittas that we have already looked at. They only generate rootless result. So here, those are the akusala vipaka cittas. Okay. Okay. Now let's look at the. Okay. Just one more thing to mention before we go on. These akusala cittas, unwholesome karma, unwholesome previous action that we have done, they do not only generate cittas, right? Resultant cittas. Sometimes they can generate material properties also, no? But those material properties that are generated by previous actions are not called vipaka. So this word, vipaka citta, vipaka, only refers to citta and cetasikas. Then those material properties that are related to our past karma, they are called something else. We will get into that in later chapters, okay? Okay. Now, looking at the 5 sense door mental process, these akusala vipaka, the rootless ones that we have just seen, they actually happened in these places. So in this case, they are not good fruits. So we use this symbol of rotten leaf here. Okay, so they are the result of unwholesome actions. And what kind of cittas exactly are they? So they are the eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose, tongue, touch consciousness, receiving consciousness, and the investigating consciousness. But here the important thing is, since they are the result of akusala, the object that we see, that we hear, and so on, must always be disagreeable in this case. Do you know, can you recognize what is it?
Like a fly?
Yeah, it's like a mosquito or a fly. Yes. Okay. So I actually just wanted to demonstrate that the objects, like unpleasant visible objects, some very annoying mosquito sound, maybe someone might like it, I don't know, but it's in general, for the general population, that is unpleasant. Then we have unpleasant smell, unpleasant taste, and unpleasant touch. Let's say if we hit on something, right? So this eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose, tongue, touch, through the 5 senses, any unpleasant object that we experience through the 5 sense objects, we experience them through these 5 type of consciousness, right? So these 5 type of consciousness are actually the result of unwholesome previous karma. And of course, not only these 5 senses, 5 sense consciousness receive take this unpleasant object, the receiving consciousness as well as the investigating consciousness, they also take the same object, yes? So here in this group, we have totally 7 of them here that are the 7 consciousness, which are the result of akusala karma. So the object of this 7 type of consciousness is always disagreeable. Now, if the objects are agreeable, then they are result of previous kusala karma. Okay, so since we are now talking about the result of akusala karma, so they are always unpleasant here. So in the form of a list, let's take a look of these 7 akusala vipaka cittas, unwholesome resultant consciousness. The first one is called Chaku Winyana. Winyana is a synonym with citta, so it also means consciousness. So here, Chaku, eye, consciousness. So eye consciousness means the consciousness which arises depending on the eye. Okay, then in the same way, we have ear consciousness, Sota Winyana, nose consciousness, Gana Winyana, tongue consciousness, Jiva Winyana, body consciousness, Kaya Winyana, and then we have receiving consciousness, Sampatichana, and we have the investigating consciousness, Santirana. Okay, so these 7 consciousness are the result of unwholesome karma. Now, previously, we said that every kind of citta, they always arise together with a Vedana, with a feeling, with a mental feeling, yes? So let's take a look of what kind of mental feeling are these 7 kind of consciousness associated with. Now, in Vedana, previously, we have already seen that we have first Somanasa, pleasant mental feeling. Then we have Domanasa, unpleasant mental feeling. And we have Upeka, neutral mental feeling. Yes, so we have seen 3 of them. But actually, there are more. There are 2 more here. One of them is called the sukha, pleasant bodily sensation. And the other one, dukkha, unpleasant bodily sensation. But please remember that this sukha and dukkha are also actually just mental feeling. So they are related to body sensation. Now in details, we will see and it will be clear. So let's see, somanasa, briefly to define it, it includes all forms of mental pleasure, happiness, joy, and ease. And domanasa comprises all aspects of mental pain, displeasure, unhappiness, sorrow, and uneasiness. And upekkha, being the midpoint between pain and pleasure, it's neither pain nor pleasure. It's a neutral mental feeling. And sukha includes all form of pleasant mental feeling experienced through the body, such as comfort or ease. So it's important to remember that although it is related to the body, we're not talking about body sensation. We are talking about our mental pleasant feeling, which is experienced through the body. But of course, obviously, the body itself actually cannot experience anything, yes? So even the body experience, whatever the body experience, the mind knows it. So it's always a mental feeling. Okay. Now, dukkha, this unpleasant bodily sensation, comprises all aspects of unpleasant mental feeling experienced through the body, such as pain, discomfort, or uneasiness. So now we have these 5 kinds of vedana, 5 kinds of mental feeling, which 3 of them are purely mental, and the other 2 are mental feelings through bodily touch. Okay, so now we have 5 kinds of vedana. Okay, now dukkha, this word, you may have heard it in many different places, but this is a very difficult word to translate. Sometimes it is translated, for example, in this case, vedana, in the case of vedana, it is translated as unpleasant bodily sensation or unpleasant mental feeling due to the body touch. And we need a lot of English words in order to explain what it wants to say, you know. But in other context, sometimes it is also it also means the unsatisfactoriness, dukkha, anicca, dukkha, anatta. No, we have heard the impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and the non-self, right? So that's also dukkha. So this word, you see it in many different contexts. So here in this context, it is specifically about the mental feeling, okay, related to body, unpleasant body sensation. Okay. For the akusala vipaka cittas, the 7 of them, let's see what kind of mental feeling do they associate with. Now, besides the body consciousness here, you see the body consciousness is not here. So only eye, ear, nose, tongue, the receiving and investigating, they always associate with upekkha, neutral mental feeling. Because they are actually very simple consciousness. They do not associate with many mental factors. They are the simplest one among all the kinds of cittas. And of course, no lobha, no dosa, and no moha can arise in these cittas since they are resultant consciousness. So even when we see the undesirable object at that moment, at the moment of seeing consciousness, the eye actually does not react with liking or disliking. It only sees. Yes. So they always associate with a neutral mental feeling. Now, how about the body consciousness? The body consciousness here, since it is a resultant of akusala, it actually associates with an unpleasant bodily sensation. So just for this one is not neutral. It associates with dukkha. So akusala vipaka, kaya winyana, unwholesome resultant consciousness, unwholesome resultant body consciousness associate with unpleasant bodily sensation. We will come into more details about why it happens like this later on. But for the time being, just know that all of them, besides the body consciousness, associate with mental neutral feeling. Okay. Now, taking the body door mental process as an example, that if we get in touch with a painful or discomfort feeling through an undesirable object, this case, this consciousness itself, it does not like it or doesn't like it. It only knows it. Okay, so it is important here that because it is a resultant, although it is painful or discomfort, we cannot change it. There is nothing that we can do about it because it is already a result of previous karma that has been done. But the important thing here is our reaction to it. We can we can choose. We can either react to it with dosa, with aversion, or we can also react to it with non-aversion and understanding. So this part is our responsibility. And this part here is not our responsibility anymore. It had been previously what we have done. So these are the result of those previous karma. And now we cannot change this anymore. So what we can do is how we react to it. If it is unpleasant, if we react to it with anger, then here we plant more dosa. No? So later on, more of those kind of unpleasant result is going to happen. But if we react to it with understanding, with non-aversion, then here we can, instead of akusala, then we can let kusala chitta arise. Then later on, then wholesome resultant is going to happen. Okay. Now, akusala vipaka cittas, we have seen that. Oh, yes, Chie.
Hi, can I just check if I understood with an example? So let's say, a mosquito bites you and maybe there's, a swelling of the skin. Would you say that's just an dukkha sort of feeling in the body?
Yes, it is.
Unpleasant bodily sensation. The swelling itself.
The swelling itself, I would say that it is a reaction of the body towards the mosquito bite. But then there are some kind of feeling that is associated with it, right? So, for example, it is itchy, it is like a little bit like tingling or whatever sensations that are there that are unpleasant. If it is unpleasant, the way we experience it is through the body consciousness, right? So this body consciousness is associated with unpleasant body feeling. So it is associated with dukkha.
Okay, but it's not your reaction, even though you're experiencing it, dukkha.
No. This is not our reaction. Let's go back to the previous slide. Here, let's say the mosquito bites us. This is an unpleasant feeling that this body consciousness is experiencing at the moment. So we cannot change it anymore. Because this is already a resultant consciousness. Kaya Winyana, body consciousness, is a resultant of past unwholesome karma in this case, because the sensation or the experience is unpleasant. So we are experiencing it here, but how we react to it is only here. So someone may get angry about it, or someone may understand it and react to it without aversion. So here is our reaction.
Here, okay, and let's say,
yes,
with this bodily sensations, which are dukkha, they're still subjective. But let's say, maybe itchiness might feel like dukkha to myself, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I would feel the same way for someone else.
You mean like some kind of pain may be painful for someone, some kind of pain is not painful for someone, right? Okay. Yes. So when we decide in general, like we how to differentiate which is akusala vipaka and which is not, in this case, which is the result of unwholesome karma and which is not, we take a general average person as a reference point. For example, in general, a mosquito bite for everyone is unpleasant. So in this case, then we take it as the result of previous unwholesome action. So akusala vipaka.
Okay, thank
you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Welcome. Yeah, so this is also important because this is not about liking or disliking. Someone might like something, somebody might not like something. So how to how to define whether it is akusala vipaka or kusala vipaka, no? Also, okay, yes, let's see Austin's question first, and then we'll continue. And Claudia as well, yeah.
Just want to clarify with last time we had said about, just want to understand domanassa more clearly, because you said that domanassa and dosa always arise together, which is unpleasant feeling, and dosa, which is anger or, the revulsion to it. So, but it's not necessary from what is here, or maybe this is not domanassa that we're talking about, because here it can be unpleasant, but the reaction to it may or may not be with dosa. So this is domanassa we're talking about, or this unpleasant feeling is
Dukkha.
not domanassa? And what is the right? So domanassa is basically chitta, which is anger based, or it can be unpleasant based, right? And like, so why would dosa and domanassa arise together if this is what okay, necessarily arise together?
Right. Okay. We are actually going to come to this I think in the next part of the presentation of today. So maybe by the time it will become clear, but only at the moment I want to clarify that about the point that you are saying here. That's why we have seen that there are 5 kinds of Vedana. Yes. So here, this is not domanassa. This feeling is dukkha, because it is associated with bodily discomfort. Okay, so it is a mental sensation, mental unpleasant sensation that is associated with body through experience through the body touch, associated with the body. So it is in Pali called dukkha, here not domanassa. Domanassa, as you said, it only associates with dosa mula citta. It only associates with anger. So it can be associated here. If a person reacts to this mosquito bite with anger, then here domanassa together with the dosa happens in these javana cittas. Okay, but why?
So domanassa is already an anger-based chitta.
I'm sorry, Austin, your voice is not very clear. I can't hear you very well.
Yeah, so domanassa, to be clear, is already an anger-based chitta.
Yes, it always associates with. When there is domanassa, there is always dosa. When there is dosa, there is always domanassa. We will come to this point again a little bit later. Okay? By the time, if it's still not clear, then we can talk about it more. Okay?
Thank you.
Welcome. Yes, Claudia.
A quick question. I don't understand very well how karma influence all this one, because I mean, I understand if I kick the wall, maybe I'm gonna feel pain. But if the mosquito bite me, how is the karma influence this?
So any kind of experience, as you can see, now turn to the next slide. As you can see, eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose, tongue, the receiving, touch, receiving, and investigating, right? So we have these 7 kinds of consciousness. They are all result of either kusala or either akusala. So
yes.
So a mosquito. So anything that we experience, this might be a little bit difficult for all to accept sometimes. But Abhidhamma teaches this way: whatever we experience, good or bad, through eye, ear, nose, tongue, touch, it is because of our past action, kusala or akusala, wholesome or unwholesome.
So, oh no, it's not difficult to accept for me. It's like that I just want to understand it. So you mean that even like simple things as mosquito bites you is related with the past action, maybe action that was not performed even in this life. Is that correct?
Possible, yes. Yes, this life or past lives.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You're welcome. Okay, so we have seen that. So eye, ear, nose, tongue, receiving and investigating consciousness that are relating to our past, which are result of our past akusala karma. In this case, this consciousness, they are associated with neutral mental feeling, and the touch, which is akusala vipaka, since it is from previous unwholesome karma, it always associates with unpleasant bodily sensation, unpleasant mental feeling associated with the body touch, dukkha. Okay, here is dukkha. Okay, so now this 5 sense consciousness, before we continue, it is good to understand how do they arise. So let's take a look at each of them. In order for us to see, or I would say, in order for seeing consciousness to arise, there needs to be 4 conditions. 4 conditions need to be fulfilled. First of all, we need eye sensitivity. So this pasada rupa, in Pali, sensitive matter, which is a kind of very, not the whole eyeball, but they are just only small rupas, which is located in the physical eye. And according to anatomy, it is said that it is more or less in the located around the retina and around the rods and cones, around there. So with this eye sensitivity is one of the conditions that is necessary for eye consciousness to arise. Then we must also have a visible object. When we need something to see, something that can be seen, an object with a visible quality. Then we also need the help of light. And also, attention is also very important here. Without attention, without turning the mind to the object, also we cannot see. So with attention as well, then when the eye consciousness, when the pasada rupa, sensitive matter, and the visible object get into contact, then eye consciousness arise. So these are the 4 conditions that are necessary for eye consciousness to arise. Okay, so this one is not only in the Abhidhamma, even in the suttas, you will find these explanations. For example, in the Majjhima Nikaya, 148, the Chachaka Sutta, Chakun cha paticca rupecha upajati, Chakun Winyana, Tinam Sangati Faso. Faso is the contact. So when with Chakun cha paticca rupecha, so we need the pasada rupa, and also we need the visible object, and Chaku Winyana, the eye consciousness. When these 3 gets together by contact, this is how the eye consciousness arises. Okay, so let's go to the next one. For the ear consciousness is the same. We need ear sensitivity. So it is said that it is located around this part of our ear, in this little swimming, how do you call that? This little like hairs that we have inside the ear, around that part, it is said that it is located. Okay, so we need ear sensitivity, and then we need sound. And then we need space. So when the ear sensitivity and the sound get into contact, then ear consciousness arises. Also, we need attention. Well, this mosquito sound is not stopping, but it's okay. So did you hear it? Yeah. Okay, so let's go to the sensitive matter of the nose. And for nose consciousness to arise, we need nose sensitivity. So it is said that it is located around this area, if we look at anatomy. And then we also need a smell with the help of air. Then when they get into contact, then, then Gana Winyana, appears. Now, if the smell is not carried to us by wind or by air, we will not experience that smell. So here, air is also an important factor for nose consciousness to arise. Next, we are going to the tongue consciousness. So we need this first pasada rupa, sensitive matter, that is located all around the tongue, many different areas. And then we need to have something that has taste. And we also need water, meaning moisture or liquid, in this case, saliva. And then we need contact and attention for tongue consciousness to arise, jiva vinyana. So these ones are the conditions for tongue consciousness to arise. Now let's go to body consciousness. For body consciousness, this pasada rupa, this sensitive matter of the body, is actually located all through our body, everywhere except hair and nails. So in these two places, those are the places where we cannot feel anything. No, that's why when we cut hair, we cut nails, and we don't feel pain. And so body sensitivity is located throughout our whole body except these two places. Now, for touch, for body consciousness to arise, we also need a tangible object, something that we can actually touch. But what we are actually touching is not the whole object itself. What we are touching is only the earth element, the hardness and softness of the thing, right? So when we say earth element here, we do not mean the physical earth, but the quality inherent in the tangible object, something which is soft, which is hard, and the solidity of the thing are actually what can be touched. Now, then with contact, when they get into contact, when sensitive matter and this earth element that is in the tangible object, when we get in touch with that and we pay attention, then this body consciousness arise. Okay, so in a table form, we can see that we need sensitive matter and then its respective object. And when they come into contact, then with attention, then this consciousness, Chaku Winyana, eye consciousness, Sota Winyana, ear consciousness, Gana Winyana, nose consciousness, Jiva Winyana, tongue consciousness, and Kaya Winyana, body consciousness arise. So these are the conditions. Yes, Edith.
When we feel something from the inside, for example, like cramps or whatever, it's still body consciousness, right?
Right, yes, it is.
Okay, thank you.
It's related to the body, yes, body consciousness. Okay. Now, let's see. A while ago, we talked about the four sense consciousness that are associated with neutral mental feeling. And the body consciousness, which is a result of the unwholesome, which is an unwholesome resultant, in this case, is associated with dukkha, no? Now, why is that so? Why is it that these four kinds associated with neutral feeling and the body associated with dukkha, unpleasant body sensation? There are examples given in the teachings. It says that pasada rupa, the sensitive matters, they are subtle matter. They are very subtle, and it is compared to a piece of cotton, like a cotton ball. They are so soft and so subtle. And on the other hand, its corresponding object, like here in this case, sight, sound, smell, and taste, they are also very subtle. So, for example, when we see something, it is only the visible quality of the object that get in touch with the eye sensitivity with the help of light. No, the actual object does not actually come into the eye, right? It's only the visibility, the visible quality of the object that gets in touch with the eye sensitivity, and we can see it. I mean, for example, I have a cup here. I see the cup here, but the cup doesn't have to come to my eye. Yes, they don't actually touch each other. It can be somewhere else. So they are also very subtle, and it is compared to another cotton ball. Like sound, also smell, also touch, they are also very subtle. So when these two get together, the impact between the objects and the sensitive matter is very subtle. So when two soft things come into contact with each other, the feeling cannot be strong. So therefore, these four kinds of consciousness, they always associate with neutral mental feeling. It's because of the impact, no? They are very soft. Then how about body consciousness? Now for body consciousness, the body consciousness itself is still very soft. It's still like cotton-like. But now the earth element itself is not so soft. Now, when we touch something, we really have to touch it, no? So it is compared to, say, a hammer. So the example being given is like, well, for touch, for body consciousness, is like putting a cotton ball on an anvil and strike it with a hammer. So the impact between the object and the sensitive matter is very strong. Therefore, for body consciousness, it associates with a stronger feeling, not neutral mental feeling. It associates either with pleasant mental feeling through the body, or sukha or dukkha, mental unpleasant feeling through experience through the body. So that is why they are different. Okay, so up to here, then we have seen the 7 kinds of unwholesome resultant consciousness. Eye, ear, nose, and tongue associate with mental neutral feeling. Body consciousness, if it is an unwholesome resultant, associate with dukkha, unpleasant bodily sensation. And receiving consciousness and investigating consciousness are always accompanied by neutral mental feeling. So remember, after in the mental process, 5-door mental process, after this consciousness arise, the 5 sense consciousness arise, then a receiving consciousness arise, and after that, an investigating consciousness arise, taking the same object. Yes, so they also take that same object as whatever it might be, sight in this case, sound, and so on. But they all, even with body consciousness, they only always associate with neutral mental feeling. Okay, we have talked about a lot of different things today, but we are talking about the Ahetuka cittas, right? Rootless consciousness, yeah, is our main theme today. So rootless consciousness, one group of the rootless consciousness is the unwholesome resultant consciousness, which are these 7 kinds. Okay, now let's take a little look of the Pali, so we get familiar with the Pali words. Akusala, unwholesome, vipaka, resultant, cittas, consciousness. Akusala, vipaka, cittas. Upeka, neutral mental feeling, sahagata, accompanied with upeka sahagata, chaku winyana, eye consciousness. Upeka sahagata, sota winyana. Upeka sahagata, gana winyana. Upeka sahagata, jiva winyana. Then we have dukkha, unpleasant mental feeling associated with the body, no? Dukkha sahagata, kaya winyana. Then again, we have neutral feeling, upeka sahagata, sampatichana, receiving consciousness, and upeka sahagata, santirana, investigating consciousness. Okay, let's take a little break, and we'll see you in 5 minutes. Welcome back, everybody. So for the first part, is it clear? Yes? Okay, then let's continue then. So we have seen that this akusala cittas, unwholesome consciousness, produce akusala vipaka cittas, unwholesome resultant consciousness. As I have said a little bit earlier, Ahetuka, this rootless, unwholesome resultant consciousness are usually not mentioned as rootless, because akusala vipaka are always rootless. So when you see akusala vipaka citta, then we know that those unwholesome resultant consciousness means the 7 types that we have just seen right now. Only these 7 types. Isn't it quite amazing? Any kind of akusala karma that we have done or that can be done produce only these 7 types of akusala vipaka cittas, unwholesome resultant consciousness. It's quite like sometimes I would say even mind-blowing, no? Like only these 7. But of course, there are more functions to it, as Edith was asking about the investigating and the receiving. So later on, we'll see. So not only what we see, what we hear, and also it produces also rebirth, right? But that we will come to it later. Not today, because otherwise we're going a little bit too far. Okay. Okay, so since unwholesome consciousness produce result, wholesome consciousness also produce result. Now, we haven't get into the wholesome cittas yet, but we will first actually see some of its result first, because they are also part of this group. Now, kusala citta, wholesome consciousness, are those that are associated with the 3 beautiful roots. They could be associated with alobha, non-greed, dosa, non-aversion, and also with panya, with non-delusion or wisdom. Now, these wholesome kusala cittas, they produce 2 kinds of results, actually. Now, you see here, it says kusala vipaka citta, wholesome resultant consciousness. And this wholesome resultant consciousness are of 2 kinds. Since they have good roots, the plant is healthy, so they produce better things, or they produce better quality stuff, so they can produce also resultant consciousness that are with roots. So it is called Ahetuka, as well as maybe some flowers or some leaves, also without roots. Okay, so here, the kusala, they can give 2 kinds of resultant, with and without roots. But today, we are going to look at the first group, which are those without roots first, because we're talking about Ahetuka citta today, no? Rootless consciousness today. Okay, so Ahetuka kusala vipaka citta, rootless wholesome resultant consciousness. Now here, for wholesome resultant, we do have to mention whether it is Ahetuka or whether it is Sahetuka. So with rootless or with root, because there are 2 types. So in the kusala vipaka citta, wholesome resultant consciousness, when we see Ahetuka, then we understand that it is talking about the ones that we are going to look at now. If the rootless is not mentioned, that means they are with roots. Okay, we will go to that section later, probably next week. Okay, so today we're looking at the rootless one. Let's see. In the same way as we have seen in the akusala vipaka, the unwholesome resultant, we also have... Okay, so we also have different kinds of 5 sense consciousness, receiving and investigating. But here, obviously, the object is agreeable. I can see smiles in your face when we hear the little baby. So those are agreeable objects. No? When we see pleasant sights, when we taste good food, and we have good smell, and nice touch, and nice sound. So these are the result of our previous wholesome deeds. Okay, now let's go to take a look at the mental process again. So in the same way, they also happen in the same way, same place. And here, since they are rootless, so here I put, instead of an apple, let's put a flower here to indicate that they are rootless. And here for this tadaramana, this aftertaste, it can sometimes be rootless, or sometimes it can be with root as well. But we're not talking about this section yet, so let's focus here. Okay. Ahetuka kusala vipaka, rootless wholesome resultant consciousness. We have basically, it's just like the other side of the coin. They are the same ones. Chaku Winyana, eye consciousness. Sota Winyana, ear consciousness. Gana Winyana, nose consciousness. Jiva Winyana, tongue consciousness. Kaya Winyana, body consciousness. Sampatichana, receiving consciousness. And Santirana, investigating consciousness. Okay, so here, since they are result of our previous wholesome action, the object for them must always be pleasant or desirable or agreeable, no? So in the same way, these four here, they always associate with neutral mental feeling. And for the body, we have mentioned already a while ago, then in this case, since it is wholesome resultant, it associates with sukha, pleasant body sensation. So all the time, any touch, if it is pleasant, then we experience it through the body consciousness, which is a result of our wholesome previous action. And if it is a bodily unpleasant sensation that we experience, so it is experienced through the body consciousness, which is a result of previous unwholesome action. Okay, now here again, for body doa mental process, when we experience some kind of pleasant bodily sensation, some kind of pleasant feeling, at this point, the mind doesn't like it or dislike it, right? Because it is only receiving here. So the mind only knows the object at this moment. But how we react to it is important. Whether we get attached to it, we want more of it, or we react to it with understanding and with here, well, non-aversion, but most probably it won't arise because we always don't have aversion towards pleasant feeling, no, most of the time. But anyway, what I want to say is whether we react to it with attachment or with understanding, that is our responsibility now, because this is the place where we plant new seeds. These are resultant, so there is nothing that we can do about it anymore. Okay. Now, concerning mental feeling, compared with the akusala vipaka, there is one more difference here. In the Ahetuka kusala vipaka, rootless wholesome resultant consciousness, there are two types of investigating consciousness. Let's see, what are they? One of them associate with neutral mental feeling, and the other one with somanasa, with pleasant mental feeling. So in akusala vipaka, in the unwholesome resultant consciousness, we have only one investigating consciousness that associate with neutral mental feeling. But in this group, wholesome resultant consciousness, we have two investigating consciousness. One associate with neutral mental feeling, and the other one pleasant mental feeling. And why is that so? So it actually has to do with its object. Now, when we see the unwholesome resultant consciousness, they always arise when we experience disagreeable object. And for the wholesome resultant consciousness, we experience it with agreeable objects, yes? But now here, agreeable objects are not only just the ordinarily agreeable object. There are also another type which is called very agreeable objects. So here, for the kusala vipaka, we have two kinds of objects: agreeable, ordinary agreeable, and very agreeable object. In Pali, the disagreeable object is called anita, agreeable ita, and the very agreeable is called atita. So these three types of objects. Okay, so Santirana investigating consciousness is actually when the mind gets to know a little bit more about the object. Because when it just arises, let's say if it is eye consciousness, when eye consciousness arises, it only just takes the object, it barely knows what it even is. So through the mental process, then the receiving consciousness take what eye consciousness received, then the investigating consciousness knows a little bit more about this object. So in this case, it knows that it is agreeable or it is very agreeable. So if the object is ordinarily agreeable, it arises together with a neutral mental feeling. If the object is very agreeable, then it arises together with a pleasant mental feeling, with somanasa in this case. Okay, now remember, it is important to know that it is not because the mind like it or not, but because of the nature of the object itself. And only Santirana associate with these two different mental feelings. No? Now, I'll give you a very random example, just to illustrate what do you mean by agreeable or very agreeable object. Let's say a cabbage, a really random example. Okay, a cabbage is something good. Well, we may like cabbage or we may not like cabbage, but that's something else. Yes, so that's about our reaction towards it. But cabbage in general, it's a good vegetables, give us some kind of nutrients. So let's say it's an agreeable object. Now we have a cabbage that we get from the supermarket. It's quite agreeable. But we have another cabbage, which a friend grew it personally in his organic garden, and he harvested itself, and then he bring it to us. So the quality of this cabbage is better in this case. So we may say that this is a very agreeable object in this case. Now, the quality of the result that whether we get a supermarket cabbage or whether we get an organic cabbage from a friend, that this result, the quality of this result actually depends on the quality of the karma of our past action. So if the action is of better quality, the result is of better quality. Now we may say that now how do we define then whether it is which kind of quality? So again, we say that we take an average person. Oh, sorry, this should be a little bit earlier because we're talking about the quality of the seeds that we plant previously, no? Whether we get agreeable object or very agreeable object. Now getting back into how to define whether it is agreeable. For someone, it is agreeable. For someone, it might not be. So we always take an average person. For an average person, for the average population, if this thing is agreeable, then we categorize it into agreeable. And if it is generally disagreeable, then it's generally disagreeable in this way. Because it's very hard to say, depending on the person, if, let's say, $100 may be nothing for a very rich person, but it's maybe just an ordinarily agreeable thing, then maybe $100 for a very poor person, then it may be a very agreeable thing. No, so it is very hard to say, but we take the general way. Okay. So Santirana, investigating consciousness, in this case, which is the result of our wholesome karma, previous wholesome karma, and when it takes agreeable object, then it arises with neutral mental feeling. And when the object is very agreeable, then it is a pleasant mental feeling. Okay. In the same way, it happens actually here, no? Do you remember the mango simile? Let's do a quick revision of that. That will help us understand the mental process. So when an object arises, then the bawanga, shaking. The man is sleeping under the tree. Then when a mango dropped from the tree near his ear, then something is there. So something is happening. Then the bawanga chitta arise. Then it stopped. And then what happened? Then the sleeping person, he woke up and then he turned to the mango. So here it is the 5-door averting consciousness. He turned and then he took the mango and he tasted. So this is the eye consciousness or tongue consciousness, the 5-sense consciousness. So we actually take it. Then the receiving consciousness, he takes it and then he touch it. And then he investigate it. And then he knows that it is ripened already. It's ready to eat. Then here in the jhavanas, then he enjoys the taste of the mango. He actually eats it. And then he after that he enjoys the mango. Then he takes even the smallest particles of the mango. He enjoyed it, the aftertaste. He enjoyed everything, and then he went back to sleep. So in the same way, here we are now talking about the investigating consciousness. So after the mind turns to the 5-sense door and then take the object, The receiving consciousness, as Edith was saying, what are their functions? So receiving consciousness, take what the 5 sense consciousness has already taken, and then it passed to the investigating consciousness, then it knows a little bit more about it. Then here, it is why it has somanasa and also upeka, depending on the object. Now, here, do we plant seed here? Does it generate karma here? No, it doesn't. No, because it itself is already, it's already a resultant. Yes. Okay. So whether the object is agreeable or very agreeable, can the mind like it or hate it here? Cannot. Yes. So this lobha and dosa does not arise here. They only arise in the jhavana time. So here, as they are resultant, they do not react. Okay, so here is where we react to it. Okay, so it's important to understand even it arises with somanasa, with mental pleasant feeling, it does not mean that the mind is liking it and attaching to it or appreciating it with wisdom or whatever it may be, kusala or akusala, because these ones, they are resultant. They do not generate karma. They do not associate with the 6 kind of roots. Okay. Okay, so with this, then we have gone through the rootless, wholesome, resultant consciousness. So these 4, eye, ear, nose, and tongue, if it is a wholesome, resultant consciousness, what mental feeling does it associate with? Upeka, yes, neutral mental feeling. Okay, then for body consciousness, it is a result of wholesome consciousness. It associates with sukha, yes, pleasant mental feeling associated with body touch. Then we have receiving consciousness. It also associates with mental neutral feeling, and investigating consciousness also associated with neutral feeling. But when the object is very agreeable, it can also associate with somanasa, with pleasant mental feeling. So therefore, in the group of the rootless, wholesome, resultant consciousness, instead of 7, we have 8 consciousness in this group. Okay. Okay, so with words in this table. Okay, so we have 8 types of this wholesome resultant consciousness, which are rootless. Let's take a look at the Pali as well. Ahetuka kusala vipaka. Then we have again upeka sahagata, associated with mental neutral feeling. Chaku Winyana, Sota Winyana, Ghana Winyana, Jiva Winyana. And then we have Sukha Sahagata, Kaya Winyana, Upeka Sahagata, Sampatichana, Upeka Sahagata, Santirana, and Somanasa Sahagata, Santirana. Okay, so these exercises are actually just for us to get familiar with the Pali words. Then later on, when everyone is feeling more comfortable, I'd like to use more Pali terms because you see, when we say kusala vipaka, it's only 2 words. But then when we have to explain the thing, then we have to say unwholesome resultant consciousness, and it gets very long, and then sometimes it is complicated. So when we use Pali words, it's very easy to understand, and right away we know what we are talking about, and we don't have any doubt about the meaning of the term. So let's get used to it. But you don't have to remember it because we'll be repeating. So many times you hear these words, then you will remember automatically. Okay, now we might have a question. This has to do with Austin's question previously. So Santirana, investing consciousness, if there is agreeable object and very agreeable object that it associates with upeka and associate with somanasa, in the same way, shouldn't that be like agreeable, disagreeable object? Sorry, I didn't change this. It should be disagreeable object here, okay? And very disagreeable object. And shouldn't the mind react it with domanasa in that case? So if there are agreeable object and disagreeable object, shouldn't there be disagreeable, ordinarily disagreeable object and very disagreeable object? It can, no? Like, because there can be like something that is a little kind of disagreeable, but there are always something very disagreeable. It's possible. So I think that this is possible. But here, the problem is domanassa. Now, why, even if there are very disagreeable objects, why there is only one santirana for the unwholesome resultant consciousness? They always associate with whether it is disagreeable. Here, the word is wrong here. Whether it is disagreeable or very disagreeable, but there is only one santirana. So they always associate with neutral mental feeling. Why? If we remember, domanassa, displeasure or mental pain, the mental unpleasant feeling, although it is not the same as patika, animosity or collision, they are not the same in ultimate reality, because domanassa in ultimate reality is a mental feeling, is vedana. And patika, ultimate reality, it is dosa. Yes. So when we study dosa mula citta, we have learned that they always arise together. Although in experience, they are very difficult to be differentiated, but then they have different nature, but they always arise together. So therefore, if there is domanassa, there must always be dosa. They always arise together. So domanassa, they fully taste the undesirable aspect of the object, and dosa, it has aversion towards the object. Okay. Now, if these two must arise together, then it is not possible for santirana to have dosa. With dosa, it's aversion and it's anger and it's hatred and it's a root, right? So since santirana investigating consciousness is a rootless consciousness, it cannot associate with a root. It does not associate, and it cannot associate with dosa, because dosa is akusala, right? So it is akusala, and akusala only happens in akusala citta, where we plant seeds, no? Only in the javana moments. So in santirana, since it is an resultant consciousness, it does not associate with dosa. So that's why the problem is, even there can be very disagreeable object, then domanassa cannot arise. So there can be disagreeable object and very disagreeable object, but for the unwholesome resultant consciousness, it only associates with neutral mental feeling. Yes, Austin.
So I guess the question is, why does domanassa and dosa have to arise together? Like somanassa can arise with neutral, but like dosa and like domanassa has to arise with dosa. Why? You can have an unpleasant whatever without anger.
I will have to ask my teacher again to make sure why dosa and domanassa must arise together, and I will get back to you next week. Okay. So for now, we understand that even there can be very disagreeable object, there is only one santirana in the unwholesome resultant consciousness. Okay, so in a table form, we can see that they are only associated with neutral mental feeling. So there are 7 of them, and for the wholesome resultant consciousness, we have 8 of them. Now, this 5 sense consciousness, they can be wholesome resultant, kusala vipaka, and they can be akusala vipaka, unwholesome resultant. So these 10 consciousness, they are together referred as the 2 sets of 5-fold sense consciousness. In Pali, it's called Chaku Winyana. So in the next chapter, we are going to talk about them more. So it is helpful if we remember this Dvipancha Winyana. Dvipancha Winyana meaning this 10 consciousness. Now, when we listen to Dvipancha Winyana, we know that we are talking about these 10. So Dvi means two, a little bit similar with the European language also, no, sometimes. So Dvi, and then Pancha, 5, also means 5, and Winyana, consciousness. So the two sets of the fivefold consciousness. Dvipancha Winyana, when we hear this word, we know we're talking about this 10 consciousness. Okay, so up till here, we have finished the 12 akusala cittas, the cittas with characteristics of the central plane, and the kamavachara citta. We have finished already 12 akusala cittas, and we have also finished the unwholesome resultant consciousness, which are actually result of these 12, right? And we have also finished the rootless resultant, rootless wholesome resultant, Ahetuka kusala vipaka cittas. So next we are going to see the functional, a few of the functional under this group, under the rootless group. Okay. Now the 5 sense door mental process here, we see that there are 2 rootless functional consciousness here. The first one we are going to talk about is this one, the 5-door adverting consciousness. It's called Pancha-dwara vajana citta. So for those who might be interested in Pali, again, Pancha, 5, Dwara is like door. It sounds really like door. Dwara, door. Awajana means adverting. So 5-door adverting consciousness. Pancha-dwara vajana citta. So what does this citta, what does it do? Now, when the mind is, when there is an object happening, then bhavanga stops here, then the mind turns to the object. So this Pancha-dwara avajana citta arise before the actual 5 sense consciousness arise. Here you see that I pile them one up the other. It does not mean that they arise all together. It's only the eye door process, the ear door process, nose door process, and tongue and touch, body door. Put them together so we know that it is in this position, but they don't arise together at the same time, only one at each process, okay? So this one, the function of it is to turn towards the object so that the sense consciousness, when it arises, then it gets in touch with the consciousness. Okay, so how about mind door then? For mind door process, all this is not necessary, right? Because the object, it's already there. So when we think of something, we remember something, then there is this thought process of the mind or mental process. No? So at that time, the mind only has to turn to the mind object itself. So all the other receiving and determining, all those are not necessary anymore for mind door process. So this is another functional consciousness, which is the next one in this group, the mano dwara avajana citta. So mind, mano, dwara, door, avajana, adverting, citta, consciousness. Mano dwara avajana citta, mind door adverting consciousness. So here in this group, in the Ahetuka kriya citta, rootless functional consciousness, we have the 5-door adverting consciousness as well as the mind door adverting consciousness. So they are very simple consciousness. They only do a simple function of directing the mind towards the object. That's all what they do. So they are purely functional and they are rootless. So they obviously do not generate karma, and they are also not a result of previous karma. They only arise to perform a function here. Okay, now if we go back to the 5 sense door process, you will see that there is another functional citta here, the determining consciousness, in Pali called Vatabana. If we compare this Vatabana with the mind, compare this 5 sense door process with the mind door process, you will see this Votabana, it happens in the same position as the mind door averting consciousness, just before the jhavanas, just before our reaction to it. So actually, this Votabana, this determining consciousness, is actually a same type of consciousness as the Manodwara Vajana. They are the same. It's only that they perform a different function in a different situation. So it's like the same person when he's at home and he performs the function as a father, and when he's at his job, he performs the function as a manager, but they are the same person. So Votabana and Manodwara Vajana, they are actually the same type of consciousness with a different function. When it arises in the 5 sense door thought process, then it does the function of determining. And when it arises in the mind door process, it does the function of turning the mind towards the mind door. Sorry, here, mistake. I will correct it again. Mind door averting consciousness. Okay, so they are the same. Okay, now let's get to, so there are these 2 kinds of rootless functional consciousness here, the 5 door turning, mind door turning, with one more function as determining consciousness in the 5 sense door process. So there is one more Ahetuka Kriya Chitta here in this group. Now this is called the Hasitupada. Hasitupada means smile producing consciousness. Hasitupada, this word is actually a compound word with hasita and upada. Hasita means smiling or smile, and upada means producing or making it happen. So Hasitupada means the consciousness that produces a smile, consciousness that causes smiling. So it is said in the books that this kind of consciousness is peculiar to fully enlightened beings only. So only fully enlightened beings, this kind of consciousness only arises in an Arahant, a Buddha, or any fully enlightened beings. For us, for beings who are not totally enlightened yet, we smile with other types of consciousness, but not this type. So when we smile, it can be because of kusala, and because of loving kindness, and because of compassion, other things. But also, there can be smile associated with akusala. So we smile with different kinds of consciousness, but the smiling always associated with somanasa, with pleasant mental feeling. Okay, so in the Ahetuka Kriya Chitta, the rootless functional consciousness, in this group, we have 3 chittas. Panchadwara Vajana Chitta, 5 door averting consciousness, Manodwara Vajana Chitta, mind door averting consciousness, which sometimes perform the function of mind door turning, sometimes perform the function of determining. And then we have Hasitupada, smile producing consciousness for fully enlightened being. Okay, now regarding the mental feeling, the Vedana that is associated with these 3 types of chittas, the first 2 are adverting consciousness. Quite obviously, they associate with mental neutral feeling because they do a very simple function. They only turn. And for the Hasitupada, it actually associates with the somanasa. But domanasa here, again, is not possible because here there is no dosa mula chitta, no? So it's either with neutral feeling and also in this case with somanasa. Okay, in a table form, then we see the rootless functional consciousness here are 3 of them. The first one, 5 door averting consciousness associated with upekkha, mind door averting consciousness associated with upekkha as well, and Hasitupada, mind smile producing consciousness for fully enlightened beings only associated with somanasa. So that's the Ahetuka Kriya Chittas. Okay, so we have Upeka Sahagata Panchadwara Vajana Chitta, Upeka Sahagata Manodwara Vajana Chitta, and Somanasa Sahagata Hasitupada Chitta. So that's the Kriya group, Ahetuka Kriya group, rootless functional group. Okay, so up till now, we have very quickly gone through the 12 Akusala Chittas and 18 rootless consciousness. So what are they? Let's do a very brief recollection, remembering them. 8 of them, Lobha Mula Chitta, 8 Lobha Mula Chitta, 4 associate with pleasant feeling, Somanasa, 4 with Upeka, with or without wrong view, prompted or unprompted, right? That's Lobha Mula Chitta, 8 of them. Then we have 2 Dosa Mula Chitta, always associated with unpleasant mental feeling, Domanasa. Then the only difference is 1 prompted and 1 unprompted. Then we have 2 Moha Mula Chitta, delusion-rooted consciousness, always associate with mental neutral feeling, and 1 with doubt and another 1 with restlessness. Then we have 7 Ahetuka Akusala Vipaka, unwholesome resultant, which are 5 sense consciousness. Then we have receiving consciousness and investigating consciousness, 7 of them, associated with mental neutral feeling, except the body consciousness, which associate with dukkha. Okay. Then we have 8 Kusala Vipaka, wholesome resultant, 5 sense consciousness again, associated with neutral feeling, except body consciousness associated with sukha, bodily pleasant feeling. Then we have Sampatichana, receiving consciousness, associated with Upeka, neutral mental feeling, and 2 investigating consciousness, 1 associated with mental neutral feeling, another 1 associated with Somanasa when the object is very desirable. And we have the last 3, rootless functional, the 3 that we just saw, 5-door averting, mind-door averting, and smile producing. Okay, so congratulations, everyone. And sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. We have already finished 2 groups under the Kamavachara Chittas. And next week, we are going to look at the Sobhana Chittas, the beautiful consciousness. Finally, we arrived to the beautiful section. Okay, so these Sobhana Chittas are actually associated with the 3 beautiful roots, which are the alobha, adosa, and amoha, non-greed, non-aversion, and wisdom, or non-delusion. And under the beautiful consciousness, they are further divided into 3 groups. This is just an advertisement. Today, we're not going to look at more consciousness. I think we have enough of consciousness today. So this is just only an introduction of what we are going to look at next week, okay? Now, under Sobhana Chitta, beautiful consciousness, we have 3 groups. This one is the Kusala Chittas, wholesome consciousness, so which are the opposite of the Akusala Chittas, no? And then we have Vipaka. These are actually Kusala Vipaka because we are in the beautiful side. So, and then we also have some Kriya functional, which are associated with beautiful roots as well. So in the same way, these 12 Akusala Chittas give result of this rootless, unwholesome consciousness, unwholesome resultant, then this Kusala also give result. As we have seen one already, the rootless resultant of this Kusala, then in this Sobhana group, we will also look at those that are with roots, the resultant that are with roots. Okay, so this is what we are going to look at in the coming sessions.
Can I ask just a question about the cognitive series? So I noticed after the cognitive series.
Okay, the 5 sense door process.
Yes. So it seems that already with the receiving consciousness, it's already in the mind. That citta is
yet.
already
Well,
not yet.
Not
That's my
yet.
question.
Wait. We cannot say that it is in the mind because everything is mind.
Yeah. Chaku Winyana is, related to the I.
Yes, I think we cannot say that it is the mind yet or not, because we are talking, everything is mind here. We are talking about the mental process. Even the I consciousness is a mind, no? It's a citta, it's a consciousness, but they are, as Eddie said, but because they are related to the five sense door. Before jhavanas, before our reaction to it, it comes the determining consciousness. So only after determining consciousness does the mind react to it. When it arises in the five sense door process, it actually performs the function of determining. It does not perform the function of mind door averting because it is a five door process. So no mind door is there. So, in that case, it performs the function of determining. After determining, then we react to it. In chapter 4, when we study mental process, we will get into much more details, because actually, even in the five sense door process, the mind barely reacts to it because we barely understand or know what it is after the first look at it. So it still need a lot of mental process after this mind eye door process for the mind even to know what it is, what the object is, and then react to it. No, so actually, even this jhavanas in the five sense door process, they are not strong. Actually, they are not so strong. Only in the later mind door processes does the mind really react to it strongly with lobha, with dosa, or with compassion, or with loving kindness, with other things. No, is that okay? Okay. Yes.
Okay, a different question. A different question about receiving and investigating. Like, it seems that it's a resultant. So is it that we are conditioned to receive and investigate a certain way? So that's already conditioned, basically.
No, this receiving and this investigating, they are only very simple consciousness that helps to take the object. What we say in English word investigating, this investigating actually it's more mind door process. When we think about the thing, when we investigate in details. So remember, we are now looking at all the cittas in a microscopic way. They are so small. In this five sense door process, this investigating and this receiving and investigating, they are really like the factory line. Remember that we used the example before, like the factory, the object comes and then someone just do this function, accept it, and then someone just pass it on, and they don't do anything else. And then the other citta does another job. So every citta does their own job, no? So in this five door process especially, they are only very, very simple cittas. So when we say about whether the mind thinks and investigate about that, so it would be much more in a mind door process. We are investigating or thinking with either kusala or akusala. More about that.
Thank you so much.
Welcome. Okay. I want to let everyone know that Edith has very kindly offered to make some visual notes of the sessions, and they have been uploaded to a Google Drive. If you are interested, then you can download those notes for your own study purpose. And also, in the course that we did in 2019, I actually that time made some quizzes. So it seems that Adit has shared with some of you already. So these are some of the quizzes about the topics that we have covered. So if you are interested, I will also send out the links. These quizzes is actually just for fun and just to test our understanding and make us think a little bit more. I don't actually check them. And they have automatic answers. So after you answer, then it will show you whether the answer is correct or not. So if you are interested and want to have some fun, then please go ahead and try them out. Okay, so now we have still another 10 minutes. If you have some more questions, then we can go into it. And if not, then that's almost it for today. Yes, Austin.
Only if we have time.
Yes, we have time.
Because this is actually related to last class's question. I was not there, but I went through the video, and one point was I couldn't understand it, was related to Domanassa coming up with, it cannot come up with wrong view or cannot be associated with wrong view.
Right.
And that I could not understand, because you were saying that wrong view is basically if you want something and it grasps the object, and that is wrong view. And because dosa is about destruction, it's not about grasping, so it's not wrong view. But even destroying or pushing away, I mean, I was looking at it from a network of saying that even pushing away is from a view that I do not want it. So wanting to not want it is also a want in a way, and that is also a wrong view in one sense. So, I mean, to my mind, it's not making sense why dosa would not come with wrong view when it is very obviously wrong view in that sense that you are pushing away, and that's also wrong view. So,
okay, now I will repeat that again. Concerning this point, why dosa cannot arise, dosa mula citta cannot arise together with wrong view. Yes. Now, wrong view in general terms is the wrong idea of understanding that there is no karma result. So whether I do good or whether I do bad, it doesn't matter. There is no result, and there is no bad thing is going to happen, no cause and no effect. So that's a simple kind of wrong view. Yes. Now, obviously, as Austin said, it is very possible that someone think that I can get angry and nothing happens, and it is nothing wrong about getting angry. So this getting angry obviously can be with wrong view. But actually, remember that we are talking about microscopic moments. So when dosa actually arise, that person, the object that it's take is very different from when wrong view arise. Wrong view certainly can motivate dosa to arise. That's obvious. Because there is wrong view, then dosa can arise. Now, when there is wrong view, what happened is that the object of wrong view is the idea of karma doesn't exist, or there is nothing wrong about doing wrong. So the object of this wrong view is the idea which it is attaching to. So wrong view attached to its idea. So therefore, wrong view always associate with lobha mula citta when there is wrong view. So now, after this wrong view arise, then it arises and then it passes away, and in another process that dosa arise. When that dosa actually arise, it is not in that moment. Its object is not the idea. It's not grasping onto that idea, but it is the object of its aversion, something that it doesn't like. It wants to push away. So that's the object of dosa. So therefore, wrong view can arise in a previous process with lobha mula citta, motivating dosa to arise. Then later on, dosa arise because of that wrong idea. Then dosa arise. But microscopically, in that dosa mula citta, it cannot associate with wrong view. That's it. Is it clear?
The same. Yeah, but I mean, the same might be then said about lobha mula citta also, where at the moment of greed, it's not associated with the wrong view per se. It was a wrong view that gave rise to the lobha. But at the time of, because the same thing is applying in dosa also, even if it's pushing away, it is, it is the wrong view that is pushing something away. And at the moment, maybe there's dosa, but I'm saying it's the same thing with lobha and dosa. So how come, dosa is different as compared to greed?
Okay, but let me try to explain a little bit and see if that makes sense to you. Now, DT, wrong view, when we have the wrong idea, that we are attaching to this idea, and it can motivate lobha and it can motivate dosa, obviously, right? So it can be different type of lobha mula citta arising at different times. So in a process, lobha mula citta together with DT, it arises, and then it is holding on to this idea, and then other lobha mula citta that arise, but the object is not the idea now. The object is the thing that he wants. So at that time, because they have the same attachment nature, and this person, he generally has this idea of that karma does not exist. It is okay to do wrong. So those actions are associated with wrong view as well. Those lobha mula cittas. But at that moment, the person is not actually thinking about the idea. He or she is thinking about the object that he wants or that he is attached to. Then in the dosa part, in the same way, lobha mula citta together with wrong view, now this object is attaching to the idea of thinking that karma does not exist, or wrong idea, and the object is the idea, lobha mula citta together with wrong view attaching to it. Later on, then he's thinking that it's okay to get angry. Then later on in other processes, that the dosa arise, it gets angry, and at that moment of dosa, because its nature is to push the object away, whatever it doesn't like is not compatible with DT. And in that moment, it's also actually not thinking about whether it is right or wrong, because we are talking about microscopical moments, no? So at that moment, it's only wanting to push away. It's not thinking. But in general, that person has the wrong view. He thinks that karma does not exist. There is no cause and effect, and all kinds of those ideas. Is it a little bit more clear?
Yes.
Okay, so if there is no more questions for today, and I will keep Austin's question, why dosa and domanassa must arise together. I will keep this question and give you an answer in the next session. So for today, thank you very much. It has been a session with a lot of information, so I hope it's not confusing. So in case there is something that is not clear, please go back to the video and check the parts that you like to revise, or in case you find any points that is not clear, we can discuss about it next session. Okay, so thank you very much, everyone. Let's share our merits, and also we also recite that may this effort that we are putting this time to study the Dhamma be conditions for our attainment of Nibbana as well. Itam no punyam nibbana paceyo hotu. Itam no punyam nibbana paceyo hotu. Itam no punyam nibbana paceyo hotu. Itam no punyam sabhasatanam bhajima. Itam no punyam sabhasatanam bhajima. Itam no punyam sabhasatanam bhajima. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Share merits to all beings. Okay, so thank you very much, everyone. I'll see you next Saturday.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.